A crown, a throne, a life of unimaginable wealth. Most would embrace such a destiny without hesitation. But what if I told you there was a prince who walked away from it all? A young royal, poised to rule, yet drawn to something far greater than earthly power. What could possibly make a man of noble birth reject the splendor of kingship? What force could stir his heart so deeply that he chose sacrifice over sovereignty? This is the story of St. Casimir of Poland, the prince who could have had everything, yet surrendered it all for a life of prayer, purity, and unwavering faith. His story isn't just history, it's a challenge, an invitation. St. Casimir of Poland, a royal born in 1458, destined for greatness by earthly standards, yet drawn to a far greater calling. From the moment of his birth, Casimir was expected to follow the well-worn path of monarchy, to rule, to conquer, to cement his name in history through political strength and strategic alliances. But Casimir was no ordinary prince. His heart was inclined towards something beyond mere temporal rule. In a world often consumed by greed and ambition, he stood as a beacon of humility and unwavering faith. At the tender age of 13, Casimir was offered the crown of Hungary. To many, such an offer would have been irresistible, an opportunity to wield power, command armies, and etch one's legacy into the annals of history. Yet astonishingly, he turned it down. This decision was not made lightly, nor without pressure. His family, his advisors, his peers, all urged him to seize the opportunity. But Casimir understood that true glory is not found in titles or riches. It is found in living a life of virtue, humility, and service to God. While his royal contemporaries reveled in the luxuries of court life, Casimir embraced austerity. He wore simple garments, chose to sleep on the ground rather than on the lavish bedding befitting a prince, and spent long hours in prayer. His greatest solace was contemplating the suffering of Christ, drawing strength from his sacrifice. Casimir did not merely extend charity to the poor, he identified with them. He saw their struggles as his own, recognizing in their pain the face of Christ. His resistance to the comforts of nobility was not an act of rebellion, but rather one of devotion. At a time when power was the ultimate currency, Casimir chose purity. While his court whispered about potential political marriages, he remained steadfast, refusing to let anything divert him from his spiritual path. His resolve, especially in an era when marriage was both a political and societal expectation, was nothing short of extraordinary. But devotion does not shield one from suffering. Casimir's health began to fail, and tuberculosis took hold of his body. Even as death loomed, he did not waver in his faith. Rather than resigning himself to despair, he embraced his suffering as yet another means of drawing closer to God. On March 4, 1484, while journeying to Lithuania, Casimir's earthly life came to an end. Yet in those final moments, his spirit remained unshaken, his faith unwavering. In a final testament to his devotion, he was buried with a hymn, a prayer that had been dear to him throughout his life. This simple yet profound act encapsulated the essence of his being, a man who lived and died in prayer. His sanctity was undeniable, and in 1522, Pope Adrian VI formally recognized him as a saint. Centuries later, his impact had not waned. In 1984, Pope John Paul II commemorated the 500th anniversary of Casimir's death, describing him as a model of faith, purity, and love for God, a man whose life still speaks to us today. Most of us are able to see the beauty in the simplicity and in the hardship. We are able to identify the holiness in sacrifice. So let's take a moment to reflect on his life. What makes a man turn away from gold and glory? What stirs a soul to choose humility over honor, prayer over prestige? Casimir's life is not just a tale of the past. It is a mirror, reflecting the choices we all must make. In a world that urges us to chase power, do we dare to seek holiness instead? In the noise of ambition, will we listen for the still, small voice calling us to something greater? The life of St. Casimir is more than history. It is a challenge. To live not for fleeting riches, but for eternal joy. To love not for gain, but for the sake of love itself. So ask yourself, what kingdom are you building? What treasures will you leave behind? May his devotion be a light on your path, and may his choice remind us all, true nobility is found not in thrones, but in the heart that chooses God. Let us embrace humility over pride, and to find strength in the quiet whispers of prayer. St. Casimir of Poland, pray for us.